the suffering of the Palestinians, but also how it affects global security, how it affects everyone. And she's talking about it from her perspective, but she's an Arab American.
Okay, so let me just play it. We'll go all the way through it, and then we'll see what we think about what she's saying.
I've expressed before on the program my utter solidarity with the Israeli people, but I also want to say something because I am an Arab American. My heart breaks for the Palestinians. My ancestral homeland is Syria. We have the biggest refugee crisis in the world of Syrian refugees. And what it shows me is that when a country is torn apart by terrorism, and I would include the Assad government as part of that terrorism, you cannot live in peace. You cannot live in a 21st century, prosperous, thriving place. For Palestine to be free, for the Palestinian territory to be free, they need to join in ridding themselves of Hamas. Plain and simple. If you want to see a 21st century, thriving, prosperous Palestinian territory, that's what will happen. Palestine receives billions of dollars in foreign aid from all over the world, but Hamas uses that for its terrorist efforts. The reason they don't have basic infrastructure, the reason that right now we could see their infrastructure turned off, is because Hamas is living large in Qatar. All their leaders are in Qatar right now telling the Palestinian people, you need to sit here and you need to be willing to die for the cause when we're not. War is hell. I've seen it up close. There's going to be bad things that happen, but Israel has a right to defend itself.
Wow. I love that. That was great. That was great. I mean, holy crap.
I really like the fact that she succinctly says, look, terrorism destroys countries. It upsets global security. It causes problems. Part of the reason why, this is happening in Gaza is because of terrorism. She breaks it down. Yeah. But most importantly, I really like the fact that she says Palestinians have a responsibility to rid themselves of Hamas because they're the ones holding these people, back. And I like that she says that, and she just very succinctly, very quickly hits all these points.
Yeah.
And it's really, right on target.
Yeah. And I think she does a really good job of showing how it is completely consistent to be both pro-Israel and pro-Palestinian. And I think that's really, really good. And we need more of that. So unfortunately, we've seen too many people that say you can't be for both. So yeah, I really like that. I don't know anything else about this lady, but that statement's big fan.
And she also touches the point that terrorism is basically destroying a society also economically, because Hamas leaders, they use whatever aid is coming to Gaza, financial aid, only to enrich themselves or build weapons and tunnels. They don't invest this money for infrastructure or for the people in Gaza. And I think this is a major component of what is going on.
Okay, so let me try to also put, the counter to all of this. I just want to also be critical here and see if we could, how do we address that, right? So one thing I think it's important to say why a lot of Palestinians need to take up the responsibility to get rid of Hamas is because, unfortunately, I don't think Israel will be able to get rid of Hamas. Hamas is a brand, is an ideology. Even if we do get rid of Hamas, it will just come back with another brand, with another group. And as much as I defend Israel's right to defend itself, as much as I understand why, in reaction to October 7th, Israel is forced into reacting in what it does in Gaza. But I also understand that what's happening in Gaza not only is not going to defeat Hamas, it actually feeds Hamas. It feeds Hamas's ideology. Again, I'm not saying Israel shouldn't be doing what it's doing. There's no other thing, it could have done. But at the end of the day, this is exactly why we have Hamas. Like, Hamas will grow. So Israel, as much as it says that it's going to, Israel's government defeat Hamas, this is the end of Hamas, what we're seeing right now is going to make a bigger Hamas, I think. So the only way to get rid of Hamas is for a change in mindset in the Palestinian people. And I don't. So she's right about that, I think. But at the end of the day, the vast majority. I mean, I don't know. Many of the people in Gaza want more war. Even they want war. Even some of the ones who are against Hamas, they want to continue the war. So when we say, "Oh, they should rid of Hamas," that's like a wish. It's just like, yeah, that's a beautiful wish. But yeah, how's that going to happen?
I think,
So what do you guys think?
yeah, just real quick. I think because I saw it on all three of our faces around the same time. I think we all have something to say for that. So y'all,
Right.
please go ahead, please.
Well, I must say that a lot of Palestinians, both in Gaza and in the West Bank, they do support Hamas. Like, they do think that the 7th of October was justified, and they do support these terrorist acts as part of a resistance, what they think it is. And also, I want to say, although we bring here videos of Arabs speaking against the Hamas, a lot of times being against the Hamas doesn't mean that they necessarily support Israel. They can both hate the Hamas and hate Israel in the same time. Like, they can believe that Hamas is ruining the Gaza Strip and also believe that the Israeli occupation took their land and it's part of the picture why they are miserable. So they can blame both Hamas and Israel, actually.
That's a good point.
I agree with what Anna said. I also agree that, yeah, ideologies are hard to root out, and they do take a long time to change. But, and this is going to sound maybe kind of, I don't know, utopian, but I think one of the ways that people can change, and it sounds crazy, but it's through business, it's through trade, it's through that, because oftentimes people who don't like each other still do business together, and that forces them to see each other as human beings, right? Because this is why, like, some of the Abraham Accords and things like that are helpful, and this is because you might not like each other, but you're doing business, and the next thing you know, you're talking about, oh, what did you bring for lunch? Oh, how many kids do you have? And then all of a sudden these people sometimes become human beings. Now, that's not a perfect solution, but I think it's one way that often people who are antagonistic to each other can, because it's mutually beneficial for both of them. And then through that, they see that other people are human beings. But to root out ideologies, I'm not sure how 100% goes about that. But there are examples of people who don't like each other or didn't like each other, but figuring out how to at least exist next to each other. Now, one of the ways I think that you would definitely have to go about rooting out that ideology is some of the education systems in Gaza and the West Bank, which sort of perpetuate that with children. It's very similar to what people are trying to do in Africa to change the education system about how people view witches or people with vitiligo or things like that. A lot of that stuff is taught, and you grow up believing that, and then it keeps perpetuating the next generations. But yeah, it's not easy to root out ideology, but I do think it's really important that she said that, because most of the time you can't force change from the outside. You can, kind of poke holes in it, but it's still, a lot of it has to come from people who are willing to find another way, or to see that another way exists, or another methodology.
I want to add that the problem isn't only the education system, but also the media, including the social media. I'm talking both about the news outlets and the social media. In the Arab world, in the Arabic, it is extremely anti-Semitic, and it demonizes Zionists, it demonizes Jews as well. And like, it's not even a religious hatred that much. And I don't think that it stems solely from education. It stems also from the media that actually reinforces this anti-Semitism and in channels like Al Jazeera, it makes itself look like a news outlet when it's actually the outlet for Hamas ideology to spread.
I agree with you that it's definitely the media. I think that your point about it's not sometimes even religious, I feel like a lot of times the media or other countries, like Qatar or other Arab countries, only seem, from this is my perspective, a lot of times only seem to care about Palestinians or the Palestinian cause or people as long as they can be used as a cudgel against Israel, because that's what they really are trying to do, is to demonize Israel, to demonize Jews. And so yeah, I think that that is definitely a problem. But I mean, I guess it's hard to, have everything happen at once. You might, but we're talking about some of the issues, but definitely the education system. I mean, a lot of those people, like Armin talks about, how he grew up being taught these things.
Yeah. And I think
about Israel.
This is it's a very, very tough thing. And you've all wonderfully, I think, hit on so many different aspects of it that cause this perfect storm of anti-Semitism and just, general hatred. But I wouldn't be here, honestly. I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think there was hope, right? And I know that it's a long battle. I know that it's one that doesn't feel like we make progress a lot of the times. But there is a reason that there is a flood of apostasy in Islam right now. There is a reason that people are putting down their Bibles and picking up test tubes, right? We are making progress. We are making a difference. And one of the greatest stories, I think, in this whole disgusting, horrible mess is that man who even after the disgusting October 7th slaughter that Hamas committed, and his child was brutally murdered, that man still told Israeli media, I will continue to hire Palestinians. I will purposefully continue to hire Palestinians, because he knows that connection, showing individuals, look, there is a better world out there, right? You don't have to live in this hellhole that Hamas makes you live in. Doing that is one of the most powerful things for helping people change their minds, because the more that they get that exposure, the more that they desire that freedom, right? And we do see that. Again, I know it feels like slow going. I know it does, but we are in a better position now than we were 200 years ago, 500 years ago, right? Hell, even 20 years ago. We are. It doesn't always feel like that, though. But that's the reason I'm here. That's the reason we're all here. We are pushing back against Islam, and it is working. It's just, it's tough. It's tough sometimes. So.
Yeah. I have so many points, but I want to make sure to. Okay, so about what Rivka said, the trade. I truly believe more trade. This is why I think capitalism brings peace. Okay, because when countries trade with each other and do business with each other, they're less likely to go to war with each other, right? But so Rivka's point is so. I very much agree with that. The problem is that October 7th kind of didn't it kind of ruin all of that, because we were like, Israel was giving a lot of work permits to people in Gaza to come work in Israel to make money and bring it back in Gaza, so there's more economic activity in Gaza, and that was one of the best de-radicalization plans out there, except the part that Netanyahu decided to give the control of the work permits to Hamas. So other than that part, the idea is fantastic. But now that is that happening anymore? Like, that was this whole trying to increase. I mean, look at the level of economic activity right now in Gaza. We have completely destroyed the foundations for economic activity. So that plan is, out off the table right now. So I don't know, what do we have? What do we have? We have nothing. Go on.
I think with
Oh, Anna can speak about it, but I was going to say
with jihadistic ideologies, like once the jihadistic ideology is in place in a certain space, no matter how much you try to help these people to be in a good situation economically, they are only going to use this against you. And this is what Hamas did. So like every economical advancements they do is eventually turned into terrorism. So actually, the ideas is what drives people, and not the economy. The ideology is what controls the world, not only money.
I wanted to make a point about what you were saying about the permits and everything. Unfortunately, a lot of we found out after 7 October atrocities that a lot of the people who were working in some of these kibbutzim were using that to be like almost a double agent and giving information to the Hamas, giving where were
Do we
the
know that?
security-
I
according
heard that. Do we know?
according to some what I've seen, they found paperwork amongst some of the dead people who on October 7th who were killed. Some of the terrorists who were committing these acts, they found some information on them, maps, things like that. Now I don't there's actually a video of showing some of the maps that people drew. Where's the security, maps with people's actual houses, things like that. Now, I do want to say, you don't know if some of these people were coerced by the Hamas to do this, because they coerced them to do a lot of things, children digging tunnels and other things. And it's hard to say no to a draconian terrorist organization who's running, everything. But that definitely did happen. But I still think that it's often difficult to see sort of a change or when it's happening, and this goes back to, kind of an enlightenment, some of the Muslim world needs that. And it's awfully hard when you're trying to do that to notice it. I'm not sure during the Crusades they were maybe noticing as they were coming out of that in the Enlightenment. Oh, wow, we're in the middle of a changing of ideology. It's hard to see that. But yeah, it's definitely difficult, not easy.
Okay, so I want to do the second video. I'll go, Anna. Anna, you have a point?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, someone here in the comments said before that like the world is so much preoccupied with Palestine and Israel, and Arabs who are getting hurt in other Arab countries aren't getting even nearly as much attention. Like if you go to Sudan, if you go to the Afghan refugees in Pakistan, right? They no group of
They're Muslim, not
refugees.
Arab.
Yeah, they are Muslim. I'm sorry, I meant Muslims.
Muslim,
Yet, whenever anything, even very minor, happens in the vicinity of Israel, it is immediately world news. Why? I think a lot of this stems from, well, anti-Semitism, and also like they are already preoccupied with the some Zionists controlling the world and such theories, conspiracy theories. So immediately Israel is viewed as the occupational force, the suppressor, and like I feel that it is making a lot of injustice that we often don't talk enough about the Muslims in other places in the world who do need support. And like everyone forgot from Sudan, everyone forgot from Afghanistan, everyone just doesn't care.
Oh yeah, there's still like, I don't know, somewhere near 500,000 Rohingya refugees living in squalor and in camps in Bangladesh. So, yeah, haven't heard jack about them from the Muslim community. Don't know where the Ummah is supporting their brothers and sisters, but yeah, all of a sudden bring some Jews in the mix, and then it's like,
Also,
oh.
Also, the UN, like UNRWA, is only for Palestinian refugees, and no other group of refugees is given a UN organization only for them, dedicated for them.
I think that's a really valid point, and we have, in past, and we've heard other people that we've highlighted on videos say similar things, and that was basically the point I made about it seems like people don't care unless it's somehow can be used against Israel. But I think that it's kind of a sad situation. But I will say here on Atheist Republic, we do mention those things. So,
Yes, all of those have done segments on every single one of the things that we just mentioned. Yeah. Weird how some very large Muslim content creators haven't talked about that. Nobody in particular, Muhammad Hijab, Daniel Hakikaju, Smile to Jenna Ali Dawah. Nobody in particular.
Yes, some of the oldest videos that we have on this channel was about bringing attention to the war in Yemen. Before even back then, people were talking about it. We were talking, even before like people like Bernie Sanders and stuff. We were talking about it. And we were like wondering why nobody's talking about it.